when people buy their first handgun, they typically can have some trouble trying to find out what it is that they want for a handgun. And a lot of that can stem from their reason for wanting the handgun. If the reason is I want a handgun for fun, or because it's cool, and typically those go hand in hand. It's a cool gun that is fun, or it's fun, and I think it's cool. Then like your options are limitless there. You can do anything. Me, I my fun handguns are like single action revolvers from the 1800s. They're just fun guns. I have probably the majority of my guns are fun guns that are like that. And that's not a bad reason to have a handgun. That's perfectly fine. Just as a baseline, just know your state laws for guns. But if it's a for a defensive handgun, I think that there's a few qualifying questions that you have to ask yourself before you even get the gun. I think that those first questions that you really need to ask yourself is one, if it's for defense, are you willing to take a human life to defend yourself or others? And secondly, and this isn't like there isn't exactly an order to this, but are you willing to learn your state laws for what makes it justified shooting and when you can legally carry, where, that sort of thing. And also, are you willing to carry the gun with you not 24/7, but at least 12 hours a day? Are you willing to do that? Because a gun that you don't have on you when you need it is useless. There's no point in having the gun if you don't have it on you at all times. It's for defense. You should have it on you. You should be willing to carry it for at least 12 hours a day. If we're talking concealed carry, this is more of what I'm talking about with you buying your handgun. If it's for defense, typically it's going to be for concealed carry. So you should be willing to carry it for around 12 hours a day as a minimum. And then you should ask, are you willing to practice with it regularly? If your answer is a no to any of these, then you probably shouldn't get the gun for concealed carry. You shouldn't get a gun for concealed carry unless you are willing to do all of those. But if it's yes, then you should ask yourself the next questions, which, again, all of this is before you buy the gun. And so the next question, with concealed carry, a lot of it is the same mindset as prepping. Is you're overthinking worst case scenarios that are somewhat plausible for you to encounter. So ask yourself, what is the worst case scenario for a defensive shooting that you could realistically, to a certain degree, see yourself being in? So consider, okay, what kind of environment am I in regularly where I'm most likely to encounter someone who wants to hurt me or someone else, use deadly force against me or someone else, that would justify me using deadly force against them. So think about the range that you would have to fire your gun at. Super close range is going to determine the type of gun you have. Longer range also going to determine the type of gun you have. Also think, okay, how many people could I have to defend myself and others against? One person all the way up to 10 people or more. Unrealistic for 10 plus people. Let's be real. Probably just going to be one, but something you should also take into account. And then also consider, how badly do you need to conceal it? Because that's also going to determine what type of gun you get and also how you carry it. So you also have to consider, okay, well, what type of gun am I going to carry and how am I going to carry it? Appendix, pocket, strong side, small of back, pocket of a coat, chest carry, outer carry, stuff like that. Start considering that. Those different methods of concealment are going to affect the type of gun you have. Just start tailoring your mindset for the type of gun you're going to have in this environment against this type of threat, and that'll start helping you to determine what type of gun you want. And then also consider, what type of firepower do I need? So think about the cartridge that you're going to use. Think about the barrel length with that cartridge and how many rounds you might need. So anywhere from a super small gun like a 357 snub nose, 5 shots, very powerful cartridge out of a small barrel, but you can conceal it easy. even though it's going to be a little bit more difficult to control. Anywhere up to a full size like Glock 47, Glock 17, or like SIG X Macro, like the big SIG X Macro fuse or something like that. Something with a lot of round count, with a barrel length of at least like 4 inches. So once you've sort of established in your mind those sort of parameters for guiding yourself towards a handgun, your next step really should be towards finding a handgun that fits you. Handguns are a lot like shoes. They're not one size fits all. And once you've established sort of the general purpose or application of that tool, then you need to find a gun that fits you. I mean, the best way of doing that is just to go to a gun store, or if you have friends that have guns, try their guns out as well. Probably the best way of doing that. If they're already into concealed carry, then try out their guns. But also go to a gun store, because their guns may not fit you great. Go to a gun store, try out a variety of different guns. Just feel them in your hands. I mean, we're talking as simple as just dry firing, picking up a gun in the gun store and dry firing it. See how it feels in your hand. And from there, actually load the thing. If your local range, if you have one, local gun store allows you to, see if you can test fire it. Because what feels good in your hand dry, it may not feel great when you're actually shooting it. So some people, they love, for example, they love the feel of a 1911. The grip frame feels great, trigger pull is wonderful, but they'll find out that it's big and heavy, and it wouldn't be great for concealed carry for them, and they don't like the way the recoil feels, whether it's 45, 9mm, or whatever. Some people, that gun's not gonna fit them, other people will be perfect. There's a bunch of varieties of 1911s. Or you get something like a SIG P365, which for a lot of people, they love the way it feels. It's nice and slim, the trigger pull is great, it feels good in their hands, but you get to firing it, since it's so small, it's often really snappy, and it's not quite as accurate because of the small sight frame, which you can sort of adjust that with a red dot if you get one, but right off the bat, I wouldn't worry too much about getting a red dot immediately. But some people, this feels great to them. Any variety of the SIG P365 feels great. Other people, not so much. It may not quite fit them as well. For other people, it might be something like a Glock 19, which again, a lot of people complain about the grip frame on this. For me, I think it fits me great. I love the way it feels. It's very natural to me. And so with some of this, it can come with time and experience, but there's no point in dumping a bunch of money into a pistol that doesn't feel great in your hands. It doesn't feel great to shoot. Most importantly, if it doesn't feel great to shoot, then probably not a gun you want to dump a bunch of money on. So consider the way it feels in your hand to begin with, just drawing, presenting, consider the trigger pull, and consider how it actually feels when shooting. And do this with a variety of pistols. Don't get your heart set on just one type of gun because it feels great in your hands. Try a bunch of them out, if possible. If at all possible, try as many as possible, and then do some research on that type of handgun. How reliable is it? How reliable is that model? How reliable is it with that caliber? And then start getting yourself towards a position where if you want to buy it, you do that. And then invest in a good holster. A lot of options out there. Me personally, I really like Vetter holsters. There's a lot of options. This one's for a P365. I might do a review on this at some point. There's a ton of options out there. Research all this stuff online with holster options. Realistically, you're going to buy several holsters over time once you actually get the pistol. That's kind of my channel, is mainly just holster options. But get a holster once you find that that gun that feels best to you, that you put some time into, and just practice with it like crazy. Just practice, practice, practice. Most important thing with any gun. Once you find the gun that's right for you, that feels good to you in your hand, that you can shoot well right out of the box, and that has a good track record for reliability, practice with it like crazy, research good ammo, defensive ammo for that gun, and buy a bunch of that and just run through the ammo. Before you even start carrying it, my personal recommendation is buy at least 500 rounds of that defensive ammo and shoot all of that, all 500 defensive rounds before you start regularly carrying. You don't have to. A lot of guns, they have a good enough track record that you won't have to do that, but that's my personal recommendation. And just practice. Most important thing you can have when buying a handgun.